Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Podcast. I'm Coach Lindsay.
And I'm Coach Loretta.
And I'm Coach Reese.
And today we have Coach Reese with us, who just has come off an epic Tunnel Hill 100 second place finish. And both Loretta and I were there, and we got to see it and got to witness what actually happened. So we're super excited to talk to Reese today and kind of get your journey, because obviously you had an epic race, but I know that you've been there before. So I want to kind of get the whole scope of things, but let's kind of dive into your experience in this Tunnel Hill. Give us the time, give us kind of the play-by-play. We want to hear it all.
Yeah, totally. And I guess first off, thanks for having me back. It's great to be on the podcast, talking with you both and the community. So I know it's been a while since your listeners have heard my voice. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. But yeah, so the day started. I had intentions of going sub 12 hours for sure. Had splits paced out. If I, held the 7:06 pace for 100 miles, that would give me 20 minutes of stop time. And I would kind of play around with not needing the stop time. Turns out I hardly took out any stop time, but just over the course of a day, you kind of deteriorate a little bit, in 100 miles. Although I didn't blow up as hard as I had initially anticipated. Sometimes you got to show up and really kind of like David Roche says, shoot your shot. And I was like, man, you know what? I can hold 2 6-hour 50 miles or so I feel. And so I ended up coming through the first 50-mile split in 5:55 and only faded by about 10 minutes for a 6:05 second half. But yeah, the race started out. It was great. Really, I wasn't going to try to go too much faster than 7-minute pace. I ended up clipping away at almost 30, 6:45 paces or so. And in that time, Phil Young, leader, major shout out to him. We'll get to him in a little bit. In his epic performance. But, kind of jumped around with him a little bit, kind of talked, bantered, saw a couple of the 50 miles go off and tried not to go out too hard, I guess.
Yeah.
Had an aggressive fueling plan. And that was to down 2 concentrated Gatorade bottles. I know some of the listeners might be like, ew, Gatorade, it works for me. So
good.
Blue flavor, love it. But I concentrate it, so it's about 200 calories a bottle. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to down 2 bottles an hour, and I'm going to take 1 to 2 gels, and that's going to be 500 to 600 calories. Usually it ends up being 500 calories. Once I start kind of slipping off and taking a gel every 45 minutes or so. But was running, felt really good. Ended up hanging out with a guy named Patrick for probably 15 miles or so. That was nice. I don't really like to run with anybody though. So I answered we talked a little bit. Sorry, this is my fiance calling me. Sorry.
Hi, Deanna.
She says I do. I don't really like running with anybody. So he's trying to talk. He's a super nice guy. Loved it and hated it because I like to really focus inwards, right? My breathing, how fast I'm going. Exactly. It's you're running with somebody else. All of a sudden you're going a little bit faster than anticipated. Super easy to do in a 100 miler. Yeah. So, he ended up fading at maybe about 20 mile mark. And then I was running on my own again. It was great. Shortly after, it's everybody knows at Tunnel Hill, there is a hill. It's not a 15% grade hill. It's maybe a max of 2.5%. But you feel it for sure. Yeah. So for anybody out there that's kind of doing a little course recon right now, that happens at first time, as you're leading up to the hill, going to the northbound section. So you're going to go up about 5 miles and you're going to gain, I want to say maybe 200 feet or so in the 5 miles, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, all of a sudden you're shit, what happened? Everything feels so much harder now,
Yeah.
And that's when my stomach started to kind of go on me. Like I said, aggressive fueling plan kind of bit me a little bit. But coupled with going slightly uphill, it's super easy to get in your own head and be like, yeah, I'm not doing super hot right now. My stomach's starting to turn, I'm slowing down. You just got to keep reminding yourself, I'm on a hill. Once you get to the Tunnel Hill tunnel, which is super cool. Didn't need a headlamp the first and second time I went through. Although I wasn't able to see my feet for probably like 30 seconds as I was
It's so
running.
scary.
But for anybody out there that's wondering, do I need a headlamp or not? I would say like, hey, if you've ever run at like 4 o'clock in the morning or like 10 o'clock at night on roads and you're like, oh yeah, you come across a dark section, you're like, I can trust my footing here because I know that there's not a gnarly pothole coming up. You just got to trust that there's no potholes that are going to like grab your feet or like no gremlins that are going to come out and like trip you. So, but then once you're out of the tunnel, you hit a next aid station and you start going downhill until you hit the turnaround. And that's where the steepest hill is. It's maybe 2.5%. Again, you feel it, you hit the turnaround, you come back to the tunnel and you're like, gosh, like I'm falling apart, but you're not, don't worry. However, on this day, I was falling apart. So I guess like, miles 0 to 28 or so was like fine. Like I was feeling pretty good. And then of course the stomach got big, the stomach got sloshy. I was like, oh shoot. And that's when I just like want to pound water. So I was like pounding water, had to switch up my game plan. So I switched up to 1 bottle of concentrated Gatorade, 1 bottle of water, and then I would take 1 to 2 gels an hour. So I was still getting around like 400 calories an hour or so, but just had to dilute with some water. Now it took maybe about like until mile 50 to really feel that like, okay, like I'm back in it. I'm not just hanging on. I'm actually like regulated again, which was a good feeling. But it's hard because regulated at mile 50 means like, oh, I'm not on the verge of utter catastrophe. I'm hurting, but like I'm not like about to die.
Yeah.
At that point, it's like your quads hurt, your hamstrings hurt, your hips hurt. Everybody's hurting mile 50. Like there's no two ways about it. Loretta, you're famous for always saying fresh at 50. But what does fresh mean at mile 50? Fresh at mile 50 means, okay, my stomach's not blown up. I'm not like hitting the bathroom every 5 minutes. Like I'm somewhat in my calorie range and I'm still like somewhat on pace. So yeah, in that case, I was fresh. But you're still fighting for every footstep at that point. And I mean, at that point too, I should say about like mile 28, Rob King ended up passing me with a good clip. He was going hill just after, I believe it was just after the tunnel. He was going downhill and I was like, damn, he's flying. I actually thought he was part of the 50 mile. So I thought I was behind Phil all day long. Well, I ended up catching Phil as I was feeling better at about mile like 55, 57 or so. And he was in the middle of a rough patch. And for any of you that know Phil Young, super consistent, like he's always running tunnel hill, like 12:20, 12:40, like bank on him. And I was like, oh shoot, like, okay, cool. I'm coming up on Phil. Like he looks like he's having a hard time. I'm still kind of in a little rough patch, but I'm like on the come up again. I ended up just slowly coming up on him, chatted, had a couple words, kind of talked about our day. And then slowly, just as I kept my pace plan, just all of a sudden, like I'm creeping ahead. So I never really like at that time, like really like laid down the hammer or tried to pass with authority. In a 100-mile race, you're at mile 57, you're still super early on into the race. You have more than 50K to go. Like you're still like playing conservatively, but also like still on the gas for what that means for 100 miles, right? So like it's not on the gas like a 5K, like, oh my gosh, my legs are about to blow up, but it's on the gas in the sense of like, can I sustain this for another 45 miles? Right? So about that point, like I had to walk through. So I had a minute 37 of stop time, but there were a good 3 or 4 aid stations that I actually walked through. So as I hit my crew, slowed down to a walk just to let my stomach kind of settle as I was chugging water. And I was like, hey guys, walk with me. So the minute 37 just comes down to like 2 pee breaks and then a water stop break to like dump some water in my head.
I was going to say, like, I think I could pee for a whole minute and 30 seconds. Like,
yeah, it's
that's insane.
It's a skill. But I can't pee while moving. I've tried to practice. That's not going to happen. But
it's worth the minute and whatever.
And that's my conclusion, right? Like if you can like get in, get out, do your thing, whatever, do it on trail, do it in a porta potty, don't care. But I'm always trying to multitask and like make the most use of my time. So like I'm not going to stop and pee unless it's also time to eat, or if I need to put a headlamp on, or if I need to change up a song on my phone. I don't run with music, but I'm,
Yeah.
as ideas for other people, like to try to change your song, whatever, switch out gear, take off arm sleeves, try to multitask as much as you can, as long as you don't pee on yourself.
Yeah.
But so I ended up creeping ahead of Phil, and I was like, hey man, like, Phil asked me, he goes, did you see that other guy? And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, the guy in the white, Rob King, who I thought was in the 50 mile, ended up not being in the 50 mile, was in the 100 mile. And I was like, oh, Christ damn it. Like here, I thought like I was taking over the lead, and there's this other guy ahead of me I haven't seen. And sure enough, as we get to the southbound turnaround, it's the only point that like you can get true beta on where somebody else is in a race is on the turnarounds. Cause it's like you clock basically like your time until you see somebody else. Right. Yeah. So I was running southbound, mile 63, still heading south. And this guy starts coming up like north. And for a split second, my brain was like, is he off course? And then I thought to myself, no, it's Tunnel Hill. Like you can't really be off course.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's gotta be him. So I clocked my watch. And then by the time I hit the turnaround, I was like, okay, like I'm like 4 minutes down on him. Okay. And he looked like he wasn't moving as well as I was. Of course, I can't see myself the way like when I'm running, but like depending on like how high his feet were getting off of the ground and like how his arm carriage was, I was like, I think he's having a rough patch. I'm gonna see him. We're still early in the race. Just maintain my speed. And by speed, I mean like maintain just the same cadence that I was, holding the entire day. So I ended up creeping up on him. Kept blazing through, now I'm not even stopping for my aid station. I'm going 7-minute pace through the aid stops, dropping my bottles, grabbing new ones. My bottles have my goos and everything that I need in them. My crew, Paul and Lindsay, awesome. They're phenomenal, fantastic humans. Love them. They were the best crew. They were the loudest crew. Everybody heard them. It was fantastic. And they did exactly what I wanted them to do, which was just grab my bottles, fill them up, exchange, and hoot and holler as I'm going. So that was awesome. About mile 75, this is crazy. So mile 75, I'm coming up on Rob and I'm closing the gap, still thinking, hey, stay patient. You don't need to gap him right now. There's still a marathon left to go in this race, but I'm slowly creeping up on him. And as we hit mile 75, it was just beforehand, I see Deanna, my fiance, coming in from the opposite direction. So I hear her go, hey, and I was like, shh. And I started pointing up there. I gave her this, and I was like, he's there. It's a huge psychological advantage, right? To creep up on somebody, gas it just a little bit to kind of break the elastic and not have somebody hang on to you is awesome. So come to find out after the race, Rob was like, dude, I totally heard you behind me. It was your crew that were hooting and hollering. I could hear your footsteps. I was like, I had to try.
Right.
But so mile 75 is when I then gapped Rob and knew that I was leading. At that point, I knew that Phil was super close behind because again, at that south turn or that southern turnaround, I clocked my watch and it was like a minute later, Phil's coming in the opposite direction. So I was like, at that point, I was like, that's it. It's mile 63, 64. I can't walk another single step of this race. I have to bank on Phil, walking or taking some aid stops, not being able to hold high 6s, low 7s for the end of the race, maybe having a stomach meltdown. I've listened to a couple of his podcasts in the past, and I know that his stomach can be a little bit iffy with the Smuckers, as per a few years ago. I don't know if he's still on the Smuckers train, but yeah, so I'm thinking to myself, that's it. I've exhausted all of my walking opportunities, and I really just kind of settled in with this is going to be 40 miles of every footstep, fighting for it, right? And that's what it came down to. So by the time I passed Rob in 75, I was like, okay, that's great, but everybody's still right behind me. Right, a marathon to go. I don't know how far back Phil is. I'm running in I don't want people to see that I'm thinking about them when I'm racing. So, which is a pro and a con. It puts down a lot of authority in that, hey, I'm going to pass you and I'm not going to look back. I'm not even going to care about it. But then also at the same time, it kind of bites you when all of a sudden you're in the lead. You don't know where people are behind you, and you don't want to take that time to give a quick look back. Yeah. Because you don't want to show that you're concerned about it. Right? Yeah. So I ended up leading then until mile 97. And through that entire time, it's like, hey, rinse and repeat. Like I'm draining my bottles of water and Gatorade and I'm putting in a bunch of calories, never really hit a low point, never really hit a high point, just kept cruising. And then, by that northern turnaround, same thing. Like I thought I had some time on him. Like I was like, hey, if I have like 10 minutes, this is like mine in the bank because I know that I have some extra steam that I can like kind of kick in a couple sub sevens at the end.
Right.
And I hit that turnaround. I clock my watch. It's like, I don't know, like 10:02 p.m. or excuse me, not 10:02. It's 10 hours and 2 minutes is what it was,
Right.
I think. And it was something like that. And I wait and I see Phil and it's 10:04. It's 10:04. So I have what, 4 minutes ahead of him if I'm lucky with 12 miles to go. I was like, this is the worst case scenario for a 100-mile race.
And Phil knows the course well. He's done this a few times.
Yeah. He's got a lot of experience at the flat and fast, which is awesome. It's great to learn from him every time I get smoked by him. And then it was 30 seconds later, like the minute hadn't even switched over. And then I see Rob and I was like, oh my God. I was like, we are literally less than 5 minutes apart. This is worst case. This is nightmare scenario in a 100-mile race. I've already been hurting for so long. I know how much effort that I have to give, but I don't know how much effort these other guys have to give. Right. So it's like, shoot, what if I get out kicked, right? The last time that happened to me was, her name's Michelle. I can't pronounce her last, or maybe you remember Loretta. She out kicked me my first kettle, passed me with 10 miles to go.
I remember that year.
Yeah.
Her last name. She was, I think.
I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Yeah. I think she ran tunnel too.
Okay. Awesome. Damn, I should have said hi, but
look it up. Yeah.
So I like vowed to myself, I was like, that's never going to happen again. Like, I'm going to kick it in hard to the finish. And so come like mile 90, I'm trying to accelerate. And at this point, like, I'm like, hang on till I get past the tunnel. And then I know it's going to be a downhill stretch to the finish.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, hey, like I've done a lot of work on my quads this past year. So I'm like, if anything, like I can roll sub sevens and be hurting and be absolutely fine with it. Like, let's go. I can do 6:45s. Like, let's hit it. So I'm doing that. And I'm like, I'm not looking back. I'm like, you know what? This is what I can give on the day. I don't know how far back Rob is behind me. I didn't know that we were putting so much time into him that we were in the last 10 miles because I didn't also want to blow up in the last like 5.
Which you can't.
Then second place passed me as well, so like, I'm giving it as much as I can with the amount of time that I have left. And then Phil comes in ripping fast with Taggart Vedetten, gnarly fast marathoner going for his OTQ in the next couple years. He's got I think like a 12:18 or a 12:20 at Tunnel Hill, like speed demon, flat fast, kills it. They both passed me. And all I said was, go get it, Phil. Because I was already going as hard as I could, and he was dropping low 6s. And I was like, this is where that marathon speed really comes into play.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, like we crossed the finish line. It was bittersweet. I mean, it was a huge PR for me, even though I knew that last year's Hennepin 13:15 was a subpar time for like my fitness. So I knew that I would be in like the mid to low 12s on a decent day. Sub 12 on like all stars aligned type of day. I think I could have been there if my stomach was a little bit more in key for 20 miles, but we'll save that for another go around. So I crossed the line and all I could do was give Phil a hug. And I think what I told him was, there's a video online. I actually posted on my Instagram of the finish. All I told him was like, dude, I've never been passed with so much more authority in the last 3 miles of a 100-mile race than you did today. And we had some good exchanges between us about, I told him, I was like, man, like, you got my best today. And he was like, dude, the only reason that I had the race I did was because you had the race that you did. And so that 2 minutes is going to sting for sure, but in a positive way. If there's anybody I want to lose to by 2 minutes at the end of a 100-mile race, it's going to be Phil on his home course, like on his turf. One day he'll be dethroned. But hopefully I can learn a little something from this. And so I mean, Phil, if you're listening, mad respect. I told you a bunch of times, but Yeah, I really appreciate when athletes give their all.
Yeah.
In a post I made today, I was like, you gotta love when two athletes don't hold hands into the finish and
Yeah.
really try to get the best out of themselves. And
Yeah.
love or hate that mentality. I'm in it to get my best on the day, and that's definitely a big motivator when you have a 6'2" carrot running 6-minute pace ahead of you, just out of reach, to kick it into the finish. That's for sure. So, but yeah, I mean, long story long, that was the entire day. So,
It's so amazing to me. Like when I think about, and I don't know, Phil's stoppage time and all of that, but I always think like, the shorter the race, the shorter the time that separates like the first and the second place usually. When you think about like 2 minutes sounds like the difference between like a first and a second place in a marathon, a 50K. When you're talking about a 100-mile race, 2 minutes is nothing. And people that have run hundreds, like, I don't think that like is like, so it's unfathomable to me, like 2 minutes over 100 miles, and both of you did absolutely everything you possibly could to close that gap as much as possible. Like, how does that even, like, 2 minutes is insane to me. Like, I just can't even like wrap my brain around it. Most of us are spending well more than 2 minutes at every single aid station, and then the fact that you guys were able to like push each other that hard to finish within 2 minutes of each other is just really cool.
so thanks. I just did the quick math on it, and that's 2 minutes over 725 minutes
That's insane.
for 0.27% difference.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
over
that's
100 miles, which is crazy.
and I think it's a unique conversation because both Loretta and I have had the privilege to be in a first place situation too. And there's something so special but so terrifying of chasing first and also being chased for first. Like, I don't know where like the harder part is, but you're so right when you're talking about like, don't look over your shoulder, like you got to run your race, but there's so many little different like just nuances on how to like strategize that. And like it's already 100 miles, like there's so much to think about when you're actually going for that first place spot. It's incredible.
Yeah, and listen, I just got a comment on one of my Facebook posts about like, hey, like 1 minute and 37 seconds stop time, like that's crazy. I got to learn how to do that.
Crazy.
Like, and it's like you can finish faster without getting fitter. It's all about strategy. I mean,
Yeah.
Phil's gonna blow my doors off of a 5K to marathon for sure.
Hmm.
Especially if it's a flat race, and he'll tell you that too. Like his PRs are just so much faster than mine. So it's a
Hmm.
testament that like I have to get faster, absolutely, and I'm always putting in the work to get faster, right? But
Yeah.
that's Phil's wheelhouse. Me knowing that I'm not quite as fast as those, I'm not a low 220 marathoner like
Yeah.
Ted, like not in the 220s like Phil, like. Well, I don't really know what his marathon PR is, but I'm gonna blow him up a little bit. He might even be a sub 220 or I don't know. But yeah, so that just means that like I have to be smarter about any
Yeah.
stop time we have. So you can play that because it's all about like who finishes fastest, right? And that's what's
Hmm.
cool about these ultra races. There's so many variables, whether it's mindset, mentality, who can stay in the pain cave the longest, gear selection, fueling selection, like
Hmm.
music as like an athletic advantage, caffeine use. Yeah, so I mean, there's so many more variables that you can play around with, and I think that's what kind of draws me to the 100-mile distance for sure. Is just dialing all of those, lining all of them up right, so that way you can have like an awesome performance given your
Ability.
best.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was out there running too. And of course I saw you early, and I even told Loretta after I was done, I was like, I saw Reese running with somebody, and I just thought that was so odd because it's like something that I don't ever see from you out there. Like every time I've seen you run, you're so focused. And then the next time I saw you, you guys were separated, but I was like, I wonder what that was about.
Was it early in the race?
Yeah, it was the first leg out, and you were coming back and you guys were chit-chatting. I was like, but it also like was a good sign because I was like, I think you were like, it was hard to tell who was in the 50 and the 100 at that point, but you were like fifth or sixth back. So I was like, and you were running comfortably and you were able to chit chat. So I was like, I think that's actually a good sign for Reese because it showed that you were like really comfortable and you weren't panicking. You were running right where you needed to be. So I think it was a good thing. Maybe that was helpful in the moment to kind of not go too fast.
Yeah, Carl Meltzer has a funny quote about this, and he's like, "Dude, I don't talk in races. Like that's
Yeah.
wasted energy." And I kind of have the same mentality of like, like when we're talking with each other, like I'm not focused on when's the last time that I ate. I'm not focused on
Yeah.
how fast am I going. It's like we all know this. It's super easy to end up, especially in a 100-mile race. You're chit chatting with somebody. You want to be holding 6:45s. All of a sudden, I'm down to 6:30, and I'm like,
Yeah.
shit, I gotta slow down. I have to actively think about this, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's you kind of being the aggressor with pace. Sometimes it's somebody else one-stepping you and you feel like you have to catch up. So I'm like, man, you know what? I just really like to be in my own head. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny. Like, I don't even like music when I
Yeah.
race. When I train, I'm always listening to music. Like long runs, workouts, love music. It's great. But when I'm in my head, it's like, where's the next aid station? What do I need? How's my body feeling? Like,
Yeah.
did I take the calories this hour? Like, how do my foot strikes feel? Right? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
do my hips feel like? Am I keeping a level pelvis as I run? Like, am I driving with my knees? Am I remembering my cues for good running form? Like, so it's definitely a cerebral sport. And if somebody's pulling me out of that, like
It's a
it's
little
not
harder.
to my advantage. So super nice guy. Love it. Doesn't know that I don't like to talk. So once he stopped asking me questions, it was pretty silent for the rest. So, but yeah.
It was fun to see. But that being said, you looked really comfortable. So I was like, oh, I think he's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how
Yeah.
I was spectating, also helping athletes. And, we've had conversations before, like, don't go out too fast, like, stay with your plan. And it was fun tracking you all day and seeing that making it happen, and seeing some guys that went out and blew up, right? They went out 6:15 pace or whatever, and that I don't even know if they finished, but it was fun, and I was really excited. And as I was watching it, I'm like, okay, okay, I was sure you had it. And because when you came through on the last out and back, you looked so strong. Phil was probably about a minute behind you. You just kind of blew through the aid station. I think Lindsay and I were together actually when he came through. And I was like, he's got this. He's gonna have another gear at the end. He's got this. But
Yeah.
it was really fun watching you all day. And you're right. I never seen you stop. You went right on through every aid station that I was at. I saw you many times. But so that was cool. But then I wanted to go back to, so when Lindsay and I raced Tunnel Hill together before we knew each other,
Mm-hmm.
also we finished first and second. So I I was about 12 minutes ahead of Lindsay. So she was chasing me. I had no idea really even how close she was because it was dark and it was kind
Yeah.
of see where we were. And I think she realized she was gaining on me more than I knew she was coming, coming for me.
Yeah, it's so fun to just play that game. Like it's the best feeling. But I think the harder spot is being in that leader spot, knowing that when you make that turnaround, like you saw the 4 minutes, like that's either gonna make or break you. Like you can like fall apart or you can just keep fighting as long as you possibly can. But let's talk about Phil's not so secret weapon in Taggart. Like I saw them, they parked near me the morning of, and I saw them conversing. And I don't know if Taggart was crewing as well, but maybe they were just going on a strategy. But I saw them and I was like, oh no, like I think something's about to go down here. Like, I think they're, you know, prepping for an epic run. But do you know when, because you didn't have a pacer and talk about that, but do you know when Phil picked up Taggart?
No, I don't know when they picked up each other, but he was crewing for him all day.
Mm-hmm.
Quite honestly, he was almost crewing for me too.
Mm-hmm.
So mad respect to Taggart. I think it takes a special sportsman to
Mm-hmm.
every time that I saw him, he would just come in with like really good one-liners, right? Like things that as coaches and athletes, like we know, but when you're
Yeah.
racing, it's great to hear. Like
Yeah.
stay patient, like stay on your fuel, like hike with purpose, or I think he said
Mm-hmm.
hike with intent, right? And it's like that's awesome. I love the good jobs, but it's like that
Remind,
was great. That
yeah.
was huge. He never gave me a bottle. I don't know if he had too much interaction with my crew, but to just even like give a couple claps and say like great job, hike with intent, like
Yeah.
It's great. So mad respect for him, because to do that for the competitor that's directly in front of and directly
Yeah.
behind your runner, and then to also help Phil nail my coffin closed at mile 97. Like, we're all out for blood. Like, we're all out to like bury the other person, right? And like, it happened to me this time, and those two make a great pair. I don't want to say that like, I got asked by somebody else like, hey, if you think you had a pacer, do you think that was like, an advantage that he had? And it's like, yeah, it was probably an advantage for Phil. I don't think a pacer would be an advantage for me. I'm going to push myself as hard as I can every time.
Right.
No question about it. There was nothing I could do at 97 that would have, there's nobody on the planet that could have been running next to me that would have helped push me faster than myself.
Right.
Besides Phil, who was right behind me. That's what I needed, was somebody right behind me to help me push myself faster. For the same reasons of like, I don't want to worry about somebody else. I don't want somebody else to be worrying about me. That's my biggest thing, is I don't like to be like that burden. I don't like to be that like, I don't want to feel like somebody else feels like they have to take care of me. So it's really hard for me to even ask for crew. So mad respect to Paul and Lindsay. They actually asked me like point blank. They were like, hey, like, no, you're going down to Tunnel Hill. You probably already have your crew set up. Like, would love to help in any way. Let me know. And I said, hey, it's great. I actually don't have any crew because I don't like asking people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like, maybe it was an advantage for him, but it wasn't an unfair, like,
Yeah.
because it's fully within the competition, right? So, I'm glad that he took every advantage that he needed, because I absolutely took every advantage that I needed on the day of, that's for sure. So, yeah, I mean, to see them both at the end just crush it and then high five and hug at the end was just a special moment for sure.
It was
Yeah.
incredible. I love that photo so much
Yeah.
of the skiing and it was cool.
Yeah.
And I about that, I've watched a lot of marathoners, elite marathoners, and I don't think I've ever really seen an embrace like that at the end of a race, which is just, I think
Yeah.
it just was something about our sport in ultra running, the community that exists beyond the competition.
Right. And I think for people that don't know too, Taggart was signed up and pulled out. I know, I follow him on Twitter. So it also like, I mean, we're all competitive runners here. Like, there's a sting to not being able to race whenever you can't race. Like, no matter if you're helping out one of your best buds or not, like, when you can't race, when you know that you deserve to be there and you can, like, show up and maybe throw down a win, to put that aside and be able to help someone else do it, it takes a lot. Like, we're all so competitive, and we want our moment. So that's really cool. And then to also encourage you, because he knows it's going to get the best out of Phil too. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing but respect for both of them as a team, both of them individually. Yeah, like I said, I think it takes a special sportsman to be a gentleman like on the course, and to be a fierce competitor like in the moment. I think that's wonderful.
Do you
Yeah.
will be able to see the three of you battle it out next year at Tunnel Hill?
I would love to. Steve Durbin, race director, fantastic guy. I got to swap some stories with him at the finish. Um, he emailed me earlier today, and I said like, hey, lock in my spot for next year. Like, we're going to go faster. So
Yeah.
I'm really for that sub 11 time. So, I mean, hopefully we all learned a little something from this year. We've all learned a little something from other years of racing. I don't know if Tag is going to do, if he's going to do any more. I don't want to speak for him by any means, but the finish line, you mentioned that he's going to spend the next couple of years going for his Olympic trials qualifier. So, much respect and good luck to anything that he decides to do, because like I said, like good sportsmen have to be elevated, especially with a lot of the media going on with some of the big names and some of the scandals. So,
and he's one of those that has that like ability to be able to run fast at marathons and fast at hundreds. Like, it's unreal. So you got to kind of pick one and go for it, I guess. But that's really cool. But it reminded me, I wanted to ask you, because Tunnel Hill is notoriously a fast course, but the weather can range, and it was quote unquote warm this year. Did that freak you out? Did that panic you going into it? Did it change your fueling? Anything like that?
no, I really try not to think about it. I mean, I do a lot of heat training anyways on the bike. For everybody that follows me on Strava, like, you'll see me post like 1 or 2 hour bike sessions where the title's just heated, like 60 minutes, and I'll put on layers, I'll sweat it out. Like, I can work decently well when it's warm and when the sun's on me, especially coming off of the summer months here. So I wasn't super concerned about it. I mean, I told Loretta at the start too. I was like, I had your bandanas like next to my
Ready to
briefcase.
go.
I didn't pack them because I was like, like I probably won't need them.
Yeah.
Was it warm enough to warrant a bandana? For sure. I saw Phil wearing one as I passed him at like mile 55. So yeah, I mean, like it was absolutely warm for some people. I was dumping water on me and it was evaporating pretty quick. So I was getting warm, but I don't think like I felt some heat where it's like, it's just like last year at Hennepin, it's like,
Yeah.
it
Hit a
makes you
bad.
it cooks you from the inside out. It makes you dizzy, and
Yeah.
you're covered by the sun the entire day. And there's plenty of shade on the Tunnel Hill course. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's a privileged position to say, but I didn't think it was too warm. I was, but just because I didn't have any ice, it's like,
Yeah.
well, I got to use the tools that I have, and the tools that I have are a bottle of water in one hand that I can dump on myself. So I did that at every point. I think once I really kicked back at like mile 60, it's like bottle of water, bottle of Gatorade. Before I would see my crew, I would drink as much of the Gatorade as I could just to get the calories, because I know that what I like to do at aid stations is stop and drink a lot of fluid. So it's
Yeah.
like, why don't I do that while I'm moving? That sounds like a great idea. Like I'll just drink
Right.
as much fluid as I can while I'm moving. And then with the remaining water, it's like it's going in my face, it's going on my shirt. Like I was squeezing it on my quads too to
Yeah.
cool the quads down. So trying to do all those self-care things like before I even hit my crew, so that way by the time I even hit the aid station stop, it's just drop bottles, grab bottles, go.
Right.
You know.
Very cool.
But yeah, that was my cooling strategy, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You mentioned seeing Deanna on this trail. So you, Deanna, your fiance, was out there running. You coach her. How did that impact your race? Did it impact it at all? Were you worried about her? Were you thinking about her, or were you just so focused on your goal that you were able to kind of like put that aside?
Oh God, it always impacts me for sure, to the point where like, okay, so if anybody practices meditation, like that like, hey, you let the thoughts come in, you let the thoughts go, you don't dwell on them. So I have those thoughts of like, hey, what are the stresses that we have going into the race? Life, family, finances, otherwise, whatever. Like those thoughts come, they're going to detract your race. You got to let them come in. You got to give them a little breathing time, and then you got to let them go. And I think, Loretta, I mentioned to you at the beginning of the race, I was like, I don't run with music during races. My brain will tell me what song I need to listen to. So sometimes I'm on a clicker and it's like, hey, like I have one
Repeat.
song on repeat, or I have one section of song on repeat, and it's just filling that brain space that would otherwise be like thinking about those things, right? So long story short is I had so many thoughts of Deanna that popped into my head, but in the idea of trying to let those thought bubbles go without sitting on them too long to really affect me emotionally or intellectually, like I had to let them go and then just bring music back into my own head, you know?
Music,
Uh,
what in your own head?
apparently, so my brain, did you ask what song, what music?
What song?
Okay, so apparently my brain just wanted to listen to Like a Stone by Audio Slave for most of the day.
Oh,
The other part of the day was
great song,
um,
but terrible beat.
um, uh, the other song was "Show Me How to Live" by Audio Slave. I'm in an Audio Slave kick recently. So shout out Audio Slave, Tom Morello, you're the man. But yeah, so it was just like a section of that song. So it's like I would have these thoughts in the quiet moments, these thoughts would go, and then the music would come back in. And that's how most of my races go. And I mean, unless it's staying on course or trying to think about like what I need in the moment, like I try to do my best to compartmentalize and let things come and go and say, hey, if it's something to do with, you know, finances, relationships, family, I can't do anything about it right now. Why am I going to let it
Yeah.
affect my race?
Why am I going to stress about it? Yeah.
But that's important for all, the athletes out there. Like in taper time, when you have extra time on your hands, like that's when, don't go crazy spending a bunch of energy on those things. But if you can
Address
take
them.
care of some of that like emotional and intellectual baggage before the race, do it, because then you don't have any other out, or your brain's always going to grasp for the short straws of like, how can we get dummy here to stop doing whatever he's doing? Maybe if we make him feel terrible about himself, he's just going to want to quit and
Yeah.
give his quad a break. Right. So like, don't give your brain those outs.
It's good.
Yeah.
So
I love
what about training leading into Tunnel Hill? There's some key workouts that you did, things that you might have changed, to maintain the intensity and volume while training more on flat, because I know you do a lot of non-flat trail, type things. And did you incorporate anything new, any different kind of strength training or any different kind of workouts, more speed, less endurance? I mean, is there anything that you changed? Or is that top secret? Can you not share?
No, I can totally share. I'm an open book, but I mean, realistically, there's so many variables, whether it's frequency, intensity, time type, duration, density, of training, cross training, strength training, that like any abbreviated answer that I give you is just going to be a fraction of what actually happened. But if we were to look at the principles overall, like I started the year with a lot of like, like 5K, 5 mile, and half marathon training. Before I set the course record at Kettle Moraine, I also ripped a half marathon PR. I think low 113 in the middle of a big training block a week out from Kettle Moraine.
Awesome.
So I was in great speed shape, still holding up a lot of, vert and elevation and change and working on my downhills and strategy for Kettle. Hit Kettle and then had a little bit of recovery, and then really then put focus towards Tunnel Hill with the idea of knowing that like Marquette 50 was just going to be like, kind of, I don't want to say in the way because it's a fantastic race. But my training wasn't designed to peak for Marquette by any means. So right after Kettle, already going through a lot of speed work, transitioning into like slower, longer state intensity running. I fired right back into like some higher intensity VO2 max, hill reps, things like that, but really tried to keep the training specific towards the flat ground that we were going to be running at Tunnel. So whereas a lot of my key workouts for Kettle were either on rolling or on hilly terrain, on dirt, most of my key workouts for Tunnel Hill were on concrete because although crushed limestone is not the same thing as concrete. I mean, I think concrete beats your legs up more. So if I can do a 20-mile long run with some serious pace on concrete and do that back to back to back to back to back, awesome. I'm probably going to feel better on crushed limestone,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, zooming out, like I'm always incorporating speed. And then we had Marquette, recovered from Marquette. And then it was just a lot of like glorified marathon training, I would say. Like I could train like a 10K to half marathon athlete in the week and then rip a couple long runs on the weekend. Like I feel incredibly fit. So I mean, for anybody out there who just quote unquote, like I only put in the miles, or like I'm not a fan of speed work. Like speed work shouldn't be a dirty word. It should be
Yeah.
like, like appropriate amounts of speed are very invigorating. And that's what I try to convey to my athletes, especially the new ones. I just had a conversation probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago with an athlete, like, hey, when I say speed work, like, I hope you're not like, oh, and like cringing, right? It's more
Yeah.
like, hey, we're going to find that sweet spot where you think you're going fast. It's challenging, but you're not going to be like dead on the side of on the side of the road. So keep that work in there. But yeah, I mean, my key week was like 110 miles. And what I did was 4 days worth of a big block where Thursday was like an 18-mile run, I want to say. Friday was an 18-mile run with a good amount of tempo and threshold, a little bit of threshold at the beginning to beat up the legs, a little bit of tempo at the end to make my legs go faster, though not max on tired legs. Saturday was 22 miles on the lakefront path before the Chicago Marathon, where I was averaging, I think, about like 6:15 pace or so. Still sub max, but legs are tired. So it's like, hey, the breathing's fine. It's just, you got to like get the sticks to move,
Yeah.
Chicago Marathon came and I was like, okay, I'm going to give it another sub max effort, aerobically, like breathing wise, but it felt like a max effort for my legs.
Yeah.
So it was cool because to be in a like aerobically fit enough position where I'm clicking away 6-minute pace and like my heart rate's super controlled, like I'm talking with people, but my legs just feel like they're like in a puddle of molasses, is like, okay, I'm hoping this is what 7-minute pace feels like at a 100-mile race.
Right.
So that was kind of the key weekend. So like 18 miles with intensity, 20 miles steady state, and then another 26.2 at like higher steady state, not maximal marathon effort. And then recovering really well on the back end, doing some biking. I think I spent like 3 days completely off of running, although I was still like I had like a day of complete rest and then 2 days worth of biking. So, key for anybody out there, like deload your legs a little bit with some biking. Like when runners are like, I don't like biking. I'm like, what's not to like? It's like free gains. It feels great on the legs. Get an indoor trainer. I don't know. I could stand on my soapbox about that like all night. But yeah, so that was the key work. So long story short, I guess it was just a year of ebbing and flowing through speed and steady state types of training blocks. I never focus on one thing for too long. Your body's only going to soak up like 4, maybe 6 weeks of any one particular adaptation or stimulus. So like if all you do is long and slow runs, like, hey, your body's probably like used to that. Like give it a little something that's not used to kind of light the fire again, keep adapting.
I love that.
Do you learn anything at the race that you will use for your athletes or share with your athletes that would help them in a race?
Say that again.
Do you learn anything from Tunnel Hill that you would apply to your athletes and give them advice?
That's a good question. I've been thinking about that. I don't think so. And the reason that I say that is because it's not the races that go well where you really learn a whole lot, right? Like, I mean, my race is pretty boring, besides getting past at 97. Like, let's be honest. I ran, my tummy was a little upset for a little bit. It kicked back into gear. Like, I finished strong. That's basically my day. What did I learn from that? Nothing other than like, hey, stupid, like, don't be plowing like 500 to 600 calories of sugar in the first couple hours, right? But yeah, so it's the races that like it hits the fan, where you really come out with like a little bit more of a clear like X, Y, and Z of what I need to start incorporating with people. So I have plenty of lessons that I've learned over this year coaching, absolutely. Plenty that I'm going to continue into 2026. I don't know if I learned all that much from Tunnel Hill that applies to my athletes, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes total sense. Yeah, I totally agree on you don't learn a whole lot in a good race, like other than how to just keep going. But you learn a ton when, you're having to problem solve left and right and try and figure things out. But it's kind of like the best thing to go through too. Like we all want to have our A race all the time, but that's why these like process goals and stuff are so important, is because that's the only way you learn is to go through stuff. So but when you pay your dues, I know, Reese, you've had I'm sure a tough race or two thrown in there, but now you know what works for you, how to adapt, that you don't need the music, that you don't prefer to run with people. Like you've learned all these things because you've gone through them, which is fun.
Yeah, completely. And you're always learning through races, right? Like
Yeah.
I learned a good amount about myself for sure from this race. Yeah, and I think that's like, hey, like when it gets tough, even at like, I mean, things started hurting by like about 30, right? And
Oh
like,
yeah,
I
I
don't know
always say that. It's like the 30-mile mark is when like everything hurts, no matter how well trained you are. Like
exactly. And it just comes down to willpower and, like
yep.
learning that the well goes a little bit deeper,
Yep.
is always, for lack of a better word, it's always a blessing. And, when you can really get to those places where, like I always tell people like jokingly, if I ever feel like quitting, if I ever feel like cheating, if I ever feel like dropping out and trying to find an excuse that still like saves face for a bad like effort, like that's how I know I'm pushing myself as hard as I can, right? Like
Yeah.
if I have all those thoughts, but I don't act on any of them, like that's when I
good.
know I've gotten a good performance and I know I'm making that well a little bit deeper.
Right, because if you don't have any of those thoughts, then you're clearly not pushing hard enough. Like you're clearly not doing everything you can if like nothing's going on in your mind other than I'm rocking and rolling. Like something should be kind of tugging at your mind, like, can I hold this? Can I keep my stomach together? Can I like any of that?
Yeah, and I mean that's where your true character comes out. Like when things get
Mm-hmm.
tough, do you fold? When things get tough, do you? And by all means, I'm not like a death before DNF type of person.
Mm-hmm.
My tunnel hole from 2 years ago, I had an out of body experience post COVID of 3 weeks or so, where I was like, I'm not in control anymore, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why gut out like another 50 miles for a very subpar performance? With any of these races, you're risking, even in good races, you're risking
Yeah,
injury, you're risking hormonal health, you're risking,
lots of things.
you're risking future training later on the road if you do get injured or just recovery time in general. So I ended up pulling out of that one, and it was a sour moment of like, hey, like, should I have stuck it out? Should I not have? So by no means am I death before DNF, but when you get to those places and you can confidently say that like, hey, like I felt those feelings and I moved through them and I conquered them, like it's a gift for
It
sure.
is. Yeah. So what's next? I want to hear what's next.
So recovery is next. After that, Deanna and I have Black Canyons, 100K
Oh,
coming up in
fun.
February.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll be doing that. I proposed the night before the race last year and then had a really tough go at the race. So this year will be different. All of our wedding party is invited. Those that run can sign up for the race. Those that don't are going to be crewing. So everybody wins, and then we're going to celebrate and have a great time. But that's immediately on the calendar. We're trying to keep the summer months open for wedding and wedding planning. But yeah, so probably another like 10 days, or probably another like, I don't know, 7 days or so of like non-impact activity.
Yeah.
Tonight I'll probably do like a little bit of unilateral, just mobility work before I go to bed, just to make sure some of my muscles are firing now that things don't feel puffy.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of stretching, did a lot of walking today, going to start with some biking, kind of build back up. I mean, I feel like, for athletes that don't respect the recovery process, and Loretta, you know this more than anybody else, like if you rush that process, you might train fine for a week, 2, maybe 3, but then you're going to get some injuries and niggles prematurely.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying my best to respect the process and try to take a good at least 2 weeks of non-impact activity while still getting some aerobic fitness and strength gains for sure. So I'm looking forward to that, but also like as an endurance athlete who loves running and is just a part of my day, it's kind of like it's just another mental test of how long can I hold out before I pull the plug and launch back into it again,
Yeah. I know you need to go to bed, but I kind of just wanted to mention, I don't know if you have anything to say about it, but we all three coach, and we all have athletes that have these really good goals and that are incredibly talented. And I think even Loretta and myself can relate to this, but you're so good, Reese, about saying your goal, and then you can see in the way that you talk of like you do not compromise your training, kind of your meditation. Like you've already mentioned like about 5 things that like most of our athletes or ourselves are not willing to do. Like it becomes like tough, like stretching, mobility work, biking as an extra tool, doing meditation. Like you've already touched on all these things. Do you think that that's kind of like a specialty that you have of like not taking the easy way out or not negotiating your goal? Because to run these races that you just ran, like that comes with not really sacrificing your training, doesn't it? Like you're clearly like really focused in on what it is. And I think there's something to be commended and said about that. Like we all want these like massive goals. Like I want a sub 3, I want a sub whatever. But are you really willing to work to get it? Like there's no magic. Like you're a talented runner, but there's no magic pill. Like you've got to put in the work.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like a healthy amount or maybe an unhealthy amount of compulsion or addiction. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I originally went to school for movement science and for nutrition, and like my idea was that like I love the body, I love physiology, I love endurance sports. I just want to understand more about the body. And I think like we mentioned before, it's fun for me to tinker around with all these variables: heat stress, heat training, all that stuff is super cool. I love it. So I don't know, maybe somebody out there is like, hey, I just like the running. I don't want to focus on anything else. It's like, well, hey, great. Coach can just help lay that out on your plan and kind of like let it rock and roll, right? Like I have some athletes who are like, I will do X, Y, and Z and not A, B, and C. And it's like, that's fine. We're gonna work that and we're gonna make it happen for you in your life. Me, I'm like, okay, like any type of little edge that I can get that I don't think is gonna sacrifice my long-term health, like I want to try. Like I'm a gamer, right? I want to try to game it, pull all those dials. But at the same time, like I'm having a fun time with it too. So it's, for some people it might be like, oh my God, that's like, that's like psychopathic. It's like, Like, well, like I don't mind sweating it out on the bike for an hour or two before I start my day,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just really cool to see somebody who like lives it. Like we all do our best and life gets in the way, but there's something to be said about showing up and doing every single possible thing you can when you have a big goal to get it done. So kudos to you.
Thanks. I mean, in full disclosure too, I don't think we can glorify it too hard, right? Because there's definitely periods in my life where I let other things slip. There's only time for so much, right? Like I can only wake up so early in the day to get a couple hours of training before I start my, my
Busy day.
8 a.m., 5 p.m. job, and then try to do all the home stuff. So if Deanna's listening to this, she'll probably laugh because she's like, oh yeah, like he hasn't done a lick to help with wedding planning in quite some time. So there, yeah, I mean, like play with your time commitments and stuff like that. I mean, you can't be good at it all. So you really got to choose like when you're going to go all in and, and when you're going to pull back. And now I've got some things I got to tidy up to make sure that life still turns and work still goes and the lights are on. And
Deanna's still happy.
Exactly.
Coming up.
Yeah, and big shout out to Deanna. Got to hug her before the race and saw her battle out there, and she did amazing. So great job. And I know that was a tough one too. So she's amazing and such a good person. And I actually met Deanna when I was crewing Hennepin. When was that? 2-3 years ago, and you were racing. I guess you guys were newly dating, and I got to hang out with her all day, which was so much fun. So she's great. Like, congrats to you guys. Like, it's fun to watch you both as a couple tackling it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, she did great. She came so close to her best possible result that she wanted, which is all you can ask for in ultra races, given all the things that were, thrown her way. So very proud of her for sure. And it's a team effort all around.
Yeah. Well, great. I know it's bedtime on the East Coast, so have a great night, guys. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks, Reese, and congrats again.
Thanks for having me back again. I appreciate it. Take care, everybody.
Bye.